So I was asked not so long ago about how CAGED, the CAGED system relates to modes. And the answer is it works really quite well. Certainly for 6 of the 7 modes it works really well. And that's what I thought I'd make a video on this week. The 7th mode is the Locrian mode. And there is a way of doing a CAGED-like system that supports the Locrian, but the first 6 fall out really nicely, so I thought I'll split the video up into 2 halves. The first half I'll just focus on the first 6 modes, and then I'll do another video later talking about the 7th mode. Now, in order to support this video, I thought what I'd do is I'd create a PDF file as well to go with it, and I would recommend you downloading that, because I don't really want to go through all the combinations of the 6 modes I'm going to talk about, and the 5 positions on the neck as well gives 30 shapes or 30 different interactions, if you like, which is quite a lot to cover in one video. So what I thought I'd do is I'd just focus on one position on the neck and show you how I work through the 6 modes that I can find that I want to work through in that one position. So that's what I'll do this time. Now, as I say, there are kind of 30 different interactions, but actually when it all boils down to, when you look at it, there are 5 chord shapes at CAGED to build on, 5 major shapes, 5 minor shapes, 5 pentatonic shapes, and 5 diatonic shapes. And all we're doing really when we're working through the modes is mixing these 5 sets of shapes up differently for the different modes, and that's really how the modes can be created when you use the CAGED system. So let's zoom in, and as I say, I'll work through the C major position up on the 7th fret, so I'll be in G major when I do this. So in CAGED, every position has a chord, it's got a pentatonic scale, and it's got a diatonic scale, like a major or a minor scale position as well. So if I start with the C position, you can see it's all based on the C bar chord shape, and the pentatonic for the C major is this one, and the C major scale in this position looks like this. And actually, if you look at the PDF that I'm putting for you to download as well, you'll see some of the chords are impossible to play fully. Like, for example, the C minor chord. Well, what I've done is I've put possible fingerings that cover all 6 strings on some chords, just for reasons of visualization. If you don't understand what I mean by that, then there's another video that I'll put a link to this, which should help you with that as well. So anyway, going back to the C major chord and the C major pentatonic, C major diatonic. So if we go for the relative minor, or the Aeolian for this mode, it's based on the A minor chord. So as we're up on the 7th fret rather, this is going to be E minor. So there's a relative minor of G major, which I've been playing up on the 7th fret here. So if you have a look on the PDF for this, you'll see the chord's different, but the associated pentatonic scale is still the same, and the associated diatonic scale is the same. So the only difference really between the A minor position and the C major position is the underlying chord, it's the harmony. And that kind of makes sense. If you think about a piano, when you play C major, you play all the white notes from C to C. When you play A minor, you play all the white notes from A to A, and it's the underlying harmony that determines whether you're playing in C major or A minor. It's not the notes themselves. So the other thing to have a look at, if you look at the charts, is that you can see I've kind of split things in 2. So there's a single C major chord and an associated pentatonic for this, and then what spins off that are 3 separate scale shapes, and these separate scale shapes associate with the Lydian, the Ionian, and the Mixolydian. And off the minor chord, you'll see again that it's the same pentatonic as before, but this time there are 3 scales that spin off that. And if you cross-reference the major 3 with the minor 3, you'll see that the Lydian and the Dorian look identical to each other, and the Ionian and the Aeolian look identical to each other, and the Mixolydian and the Phrygian look identical to each other. The only difference between those from a scalar point of view is where the root note sits. And again, or the only difference between those when you think of it from a caged point of view is the associated chord that you're using. So again, caged is giving you this chord which you can use to establish the root of the harmony, and then the scales, if you like, sit on top of that harmony. And then if we look at the 3 scales associated with the major chord, you can see the middle track is the major scale that I played before. The track above that has a 1-note difference. It's that note there, which is the 4th. The 4th is sharpened compared to the major. And that's really what defines a Lydian sound, is that it's based on a major chord. It uses a major scale shape. However, the 4th is sharpened. It's not a natural 4th. So that defines the Lydian. And the Dorian, the Mixolydian, if you have a look at that, you can see again there's only 1-note difference. And so if I play the major scale compared to the Mixolydian, the difference is the 7th is flattened in the Mixolydian versus a natural 7th in the major. So again, you can see that kind of defines what a Mixolydian is. A Mixolydian is based on a major chord, a major scale, but with a flattened 7th. And then similarly, you can see on the minor side of these charts, there's the A minor, same associated scale with the minor, but you can see the Dorian is associated with that same note raised. In this case, because our root note is just there rather than there, then that raised note is the 6th. So the minor 6th, in the minor scale, the 6th note is sharpened, and the Phrygian starts with the minor scale again. But when you play Phrygian, you play a flat 2nd. So the Phrygian is defined as being a natural minor scale with a flat 2nd rather than a natural 2nd. And these 1-note differences between the modes are what give the mode its colour. And hopefully you can see the value of the chord as well, because the chord establishes the harmony. One of the bad habits that people fall down when they only think of modes as being scales is they start to say, okay, the C Lydian is really just a G major, because a C with a sharp 4 is a G major. Are all of the notes of the G major. So if I just play the G major scale over a C chord, then I'm getting a C Lydian sound. And it doesn't really kind of work like that, because if that's all you do, you tend to end up with solos that sound like you're noodling around unrelated notes. Whereas if you're thinking about the underlying chords all the time, you find that the solos that you play lock into the mode much more nicely. And it makes it much more easy to actually visualize the mode how you really should be visualizing it, which is not a C Lydian as a G major scale. It's a C Lydian is a C major scale with a sharpened 4th, and that becomes much more apparent if you understand where the underlying chord sits as well. So hopefully you can see now how the chord, the pentatonic and the scale shape intertwine with each other to give you an underlying reference that you can use to create modal solos. That's really what I wanted to show here. I'll just show you how the harmony can juxtapose against the melody that you're creating, and how you can use that to create lines, and that's really what CAGED is really good at. As I say, I would recommend you download the PDF because there's a lot of information on there. But as I also said, really it boils down to 5 major chords, 5 minor chords, 5 pentatonic shapes, and 5 diatonic shapes that define all of the CAGED positions in all of the 6 modes that I've been talking about. So hopefully that's been useful for you, and we'll chat next time. Goodbye.